Hi, my name is Caitlin McTeer. I am a junior year at the University of Alabama, majoring in news media. I met Matthew Kiszla last year when we joined the Blackburn Institute. We're in the same class for Blackburn, but of course he's 1 year ahead of me in school. And when I met Matthew, he was a burst of energy. His confidence, his excitement for life has absolutely inspired me and pushed me in every single aspect of my life, and I cannot imagine this world without Matthew Kiszla in it. I remember one time this summer he got really down on himself, and I just searched up his name and I realized that it meant a gift. And for me, Matthew's been one of the greatest gifts of my life, and he just continues to share every single aspect of who he is to other people when you meet him. And I know that someday when he's a doctor, he's going to love every single person that walks into his office and give them the same care and the same respect, and will offer such an inclusive environment to all those that are around him. So without further ado, it's Matthew Kiszla.
Okay, wow. Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. Tonight I want to talk to you about arts and sciences, not arts or sciences. But first, before we get into that, I want to give you a little background on me. So I applied to the University of Alabama to start classes for the fall of 2016, the week of Good Friday of 2016. Which if you think back upon your own college experience, that might seem a little bit late, especially for someone who put that much effort to get his hair to do that on one headshot. What I was really looking for, which made me wait so long, is I was looking for a small liberal arts experience in college. I wanted to pair studying a chemistry or a science background with an appreciation for the arts. See, my mother is a painter and my father is an accountant. And so as I crafted an identity from them growing up in their household, those are two things I really wanted to keep with me as I went into college. Now, getting what I wanted from the University of Alabama hasn't really been easy, but it's been worth it, and that's what I'm trying to convince you of tonight. See, UA is a very large institution, which we're all very aware of. But being such a large institution means that it works most efficiently when all of the people here pick a major and then follow that predestined path. Now, my chemistry coursework may be pretty much set in stone, but breaking out of it with a blunt minor and an arts minor has taught me a lot about myself and other people. But before I had those minors to tell me these things, I did a lot of soul searching going into college. And by soul searching, I mean personality tests. So according to the Enneagram personality test, I don't know if anyone's familiar, I'm a 3-wing 4, which is an introspective achiever. According to my birthday, I'm an Aquarius. And according to BuzzFeed, I'm the mom friend of the group. Though frankly, I think we all get the mom friend result if we take that quiz. But I'm also Georgina Sparks, and 50% Billie Eilish, and right-brained, or left-brained. We'll come back to that. Whatever these quizzes were trying to teach me, what I learned is that we take labels and we feel comfortable with them. We really are drawn to patterns, and we're drawn to subdividing ourselves into society. And this is what I was looking for when I was looking for a biochemistry major and arts minor. I was looking for those labels to provide me a sense of comfort as I crafted my own identity away from my parents for the first time. Now you may be thinking, what's the problem with that? And if it's just a BuzzFeed quiz, it might just be fun. But at the same time, if we set ourselves up with these expectations, humans are naturally drawn to live up to those expectations. You can limit yourself by labels, is what I'm trying to say. In terms of the education system of UA, the subdivision of major and minor and so on is built for a system that is preparing students for the economy of yesterday. An economy where focus and repetition are prized, because a lot of these people will be going into manufacturing jobs or middle management jobs that are increasingly becoming replaced due to automation. Instead, many of the students of today, especially the ones who have the benefit of achieving or being able to attend college, need to be taught interdisciplinary skills, need to be taught flexibility for the fluid economy of today. Now, this graphic is something I see tossed around on Facebook a little too often, because the idea is to assign yourself as either someone who is logical or someone who is aesthetic. And I think looking and applying that kind of binary to other aspects of your life, such as when you sign up for classes next semester, which I hope we've already done, but can subtly impact and limit yourself. Now, the concept that you need to pair arts and sciences is not new by any means. In fact, I would argue that science and art grew up together, and they really came of age in the Renaissance. So to prove that doing so has been something that's been done for hundreds of years and very successfully, I want us to look at some art. So this is early Italian Renaissance, just before things really got moving. So this is the early Master Duccio, and this is a tempera on wood altarpiece. So this would be placed behind an altar. And you see these beautiful figures right here, figure after figure, rendered amazingly with this attention to detail on the robes. Very pretty. But what you notice is when you look at all these figures, they're really stacked. They look nothing more than just flat figure after figure stacked on top of each other. Sure, there's a little bit of dimension that's created when you look at the folds in the fabric and the fact that one is physically, in front of the other, but nothing more than that. He wasn't able to show us really recession into space, which is why this throne would just look splayed out as opposed to receding backward. Now, what changed this was the adoption of linear perspective. Linear perspective is the artistic concept that lines in space are going to converge as they move farther away from you. You may have seen this if you look down a really long hallway, and the corners converge into an X. So this allowed people to create a really strong and convincing sense of depth. And so this right here, this device right here, is a perspectograph, which was invented by Leonardo da Vinci. It's a way of looking at things through one singular point, as opposed to the stereoscopic view of our eyes, and seeing that you were able to transfer an object by its outline to this little grid right here by tracing the points. This is the math and innovation that changed art. Now, because this understanding of perspective wasn't done simply through observation, it had to be mathematically formulated as well. Now, this is a piece I'm sure many of us are familiar with, The Last Supper by Da Vinci. And no, I can't tell you any kind of secret from the Da Vinci Code about it, but there's something we can learn here right now. So if you look at the top of these hallways right here, you see that they converge into the X behind the central figure of Jesus. And that really makes these mountains in the background really recessed. And it has him, who is not affected by these lines, really appear to come forward. This is something that was not achieved here. And it's because Da Vinci, as a scientist, as an artist, understood that math and innovation have a place in art. Now, what does this mean for you? I mean, this is great that these guys 100 years ago figured this out. What bearing does this have on the university experience of today? So you might not go on to develop the next perspectograph, but if you do, please let me know. I would really need to use it on my next painting. It's a little hard. But what it does show, and what we can take a benefit as, is that because our minds are tuned to patterns like those quizzes and things that make astrology perhaps seem a little bit more realistic, is because they adapt through analogy. Our minds are able to take things we've learned from something else and apply it to something. Now, in my own experience, this has proved very interesting and helpful at times. So working in a research lab, I've been able to appreciate how the lines and how the dots created in this pointillism piece that I made using a dip pen reflect the zones of cell death on this petri dish that were created by the virus here. Now, well, that's great. That is great that I have this appreciation for it and I find it interesting. But actually, the precise hand motions involved in the creation of both are strikingly similar. And that has helped me take materials and take tools that might otherwise seem exotic and really bring them down to my level. Now, the years of painting and embroidery and so on haven't really made me a faster painter. You can ask my professors that. But they have definitely allowed me to adopt myself to new tools. And furthermore, they allowed my mind to move from project to project much quicker. Over the 4 years in this research lab I've been called the freewheeler by my professor, because instead of sticking with one project, I have been in and out of other labs working on others. And so I believe it's the flexibility of working on and balancing arts with a scientific background that have allowed me to move from projects that include encasing this virus in a gel and applying it to skin infections, or seeing how the virus is able to use macroscopic vectors like insects to travel from host to host, things that are really outside of the scope of the normal scientific course load. Now, in addition to all of that, having an artistic background has been incredibly helpful in my major itself. See, as a chemistry major, you need to be able to understand how molecules are going to interact with each other in three-dimensional space when you can't create a model because either you don't have it or you literally cannot create a model of whatever drug that is. Now, the last thing I want to point out is that the last step of the scientific method is communication, and that's something we often forget. Fortunately, art is communication. Now, once again, that is great for me that I was able to do all this. Like, what does this mean for you? So yes, having this background in art when I'm applying to med school has been really interesting. In fact, probably the most talked about topic of conversation in all of my med school interviews. But I've also seen that having a pairing of the two has been incredibly helpful for people like my brother, who recently, or a couple years ago, applied to law school. And it was noted in his interviews, and has proven true since, that his ability to command the stage has translated directly to his ability to command a courtroom. And lastly, something I find quite fascinating is that financial analysts look for people with a background in art history. Now, when you have this background in art history, you learn how to pick symbols out of complex matrices, the matrix being the painting and the symbol being, a drawn symbol. But this can also be connected to looking for a specific number or symbol out of a really complex equation. You're able to pick up on that much quicker. In addition, you're able to avoid object permanence. Object permanence being the concept or the kind of idea that some people see an object and they may see it as only having one use, the use they originally learned it in. But having this art history background means that you understand that a symbol can have a lot of meanings, and a lot of meanings to very many different people. So something I just want to leave you with is just that pairing arts and sciences together has been a very powerful tool for innovations for centuries, and it can be a powerful tool for you as well. We need to remember that as much as we have enjoyed our time at the University of Alabama, I have, of course, we need to understand that its system of education and its division is a little bit more attuned to that of the past. And so to address that discrepancy, the tools are all around us. It's just up to you to pick them up and use them. So thank you. I would love to thank you for coming out tonight, and I hope I changed a few minds.